This episode is brought to you by the Park People. The Park People is a nonprofit working with communities to plant trees and improve parks for a healthy, resilient Denver. Home to the Denver Digs Trees program, the Park People has planted over 70,000 trees throughout Denver. Their Earth Day tree sale offers beautiful and practical shade, fruit, and flowering trees at 60% discounted wholesale prices. The sale takes place on April 19th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Park People's offices at 450 Decatur Street in the Valverde neighborhood. Learn more about the tree species offered as well as the benefits of planting trees this Earth Day at theparkpeople.org. This episode is brought to you by TaskRabbit. Denverites know how to work hard and play hard, but you don't have to do it all yourself. TaskRabbit has been helping Mile High City residents for over a decade with everything from furniture assembly to minor home repairs. Don't let that to-do list ruin your weekend. Use the TaskRabbit app to describe what you need and find a skilled tasker in your neighborhood who can take it off your plate. And TaskRabbit offers transparent pricing. You'll see the hourly rate up front, which includes the tasker's rate and the service fee, so there's no surprises at checkout. Download the TaskRabbit app or visit taskrabbit.com today to get those home to-dos crossed off. Welcome to CityCast Denver. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Resident gardening expert Ann Marie Awad, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be back.
So we do this every year with you, and what I love the most is our listeners and readers have really good questions.
They have great questions.
I was looking through the ones we forwarded you, and I was like, I am notoriously not the gardener, but all of the questions had me thinking about things about our yard. So I'm so excited. I guess we should is it okay if I throw questions at you? How do you want to, is that cool? Just start with.
Sure. I've done a little bit of homework.
Great.
But I'm ready to improv.
Okay, let's do it. Well, real quick, how's your gardening going this year?
It's good. It's interesting, as I'm sure like everybody else's is right now, because we had summer, winter, basically.
Right. Drought restrictions now.
Drought restrictions and then just weirdness over the winter. So for example, I planted garlic last year. Garlic needs a freeze to fully mature and we never really got one. So I just have these kind of baby garlics that are single bulbs. They're kind of like scallions. They're very tasty, but just weird stuff like that. Or I have plants that are normally supposed to die all the way back to the ground and never did. So we'll see how those do.
Yeah.
And then, the bugs have already been out in force. I feel like a couple of months ago, I was out on my morning walk and I saw a fully grown grasshopper already. And I was like, oh, damn it.
And we are going to get to that because we have a question about grasshoppers, which also it's a struggle that my husband is constantly fighting with too. But let's get started. We have a question from Jillian F. She says, I need ideas to encourage my wisteria to grow up and cover the pergola before we fry up on our patio.
I mean, I saw this question. I would hand tie it in. Every year, usually with these kinds of plants, they need to be encouraged. So I don't have wisteria. I'm actually super jealous because that's such a beautiful romantic tree to have. But they really need to be, there's a reason they call it training. So every year you should be tying in new branches. And then I actually admittedly am not a super wisteria expert, but my understanding with most of these kinds of trees and shrubs around this time of year is that you want to be pruning to encourage new growth. So those are the two things I would recommend. I have roses and blackberries that I just finished tying in a bunch. Now's the time to do it before everything starts to really fill out. And then each year, probably at the end of the season, you'll be untying it and then redoing it again. And that's kind of what helps it build up.
So guiding it along whatever structure you have is what you're talking about.
It needs help.
Literally physically tying in the branches and things to encourage them to go certain ways. Is that?
Yeah. Get some gentle garden twine from the hardware store and don't go, don't kill them. Don't strangle them. Tie them loosely. But they need your help, especially here where it just gets hot and you have stuff starting out that's smaller. Yeah. It needs some coaching first few years.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next question is from Stephanie L. Oh, I relate to this. How do you keep squirrels from digging up and eating your bulbs? We have really aggressive
Oh,
squirrels.
I feel like we talk about this every year. Man, I don't know. If you find out, let me know. It's rough. I don't want to claim to have the most aggressive squirrels in the city over in our neighborhood, but they're pretty aggressive.
Yes.
And I've been trying everything. So like some things might work. You will hear guidance out there that squirrels don't like spicy stuff. I don't know, y'all. I've tried the spicy deterrents, and I maybe because the squirrels in our neighborhood are going to like the Mexican food restaurant dumpsters. So I'm like, their spice tolerance is probably really high. So maybe that's why it's not working.
This is exactly what I was thinking when you said that, because we live in the same neighborhood, and I'm like, oh yeah. I was like,
I try to find a nice way to say it. Yeah.
No, like it's just that our squirrels are used to eating all sorts of things out of our trash, and like they're kind of like they're feral already, but they just have like a tolerance. Well, really quick, will you explain?
They eat well for squirrels.
Yeah. Well, if say her squirrels are are spicy averse, how do you do that? Like, what is putting spice? Like, how do you do that?
So I've read about people just like, getting Costco size like cayenne pepper and then just like sprinkling it all over your garden. I have heard of hot sauce. I don't know how, like, again, mileage may vary. Or people doing like hot sauce spray, like I saw somebody in a gardening subreddit say they take an entire bottle of hot sauce, they dilute it with like at least just as much water, and then they spray that on their plants. Wow. Again, mileage may vary. My biggest thing is cats, neighborhood cats. And this year I just fully cut up raw onions and spread them everywhere. And it worked.
Okay.
But I have read also in the past that like squirrels and other types of animals, they don't like oniony things or alliums. So some years I have like thrown around leek seeds or onion seeds in between other things. And I noticed that they get bothered a little less.
Okay.
So you could try that. You could try structural defenses. So sometimes early in the season, I will just put chicken wire over beds while they're still like, there's not a lot of like growth yet, just to stop that.
Okay.
Or even finer mesh. But yeah, it's like to some degree.
It's a battle. You have to learn the palate of your squirrels, I think, is part of it, is like figure out what they can handle. Because we've talked about this before, but like the squirrels in our neighborhood will eat through the trash cans to get to. I was joking because my son threw some apples out that he didn't want anymore. And I was like, the squirrels aren't even going to bother with those. Like,
the squirrels are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, they're like, we don't.
I want a full concha.
Yeah, I want a concha or I want a I've seen a squirrel just full on eating a tortilla. Like, they don't care. But I think all those are good ideas. I mean, Stephanie, try them and let us know. Let us know what your squirrels are into, because I'd be curious if this is different per neighborhood, honestly, based on whatever their diet is.
Yeah, could your squirrels fight my squirrels?
I think our squirrels are pretty tough based on the fact that they can eat hot sauce. But we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'm scared of them.
I know. I was like, ours are wild. They like hang off the tree. They're like fearless.
Oh my God. I stopped doing bird feeders altogether last year because I'm going to try really hard not to swear. Hooligans. They just go, they do like Tony Hawk pro skater tricks trying to get into these like bird feeders. They like jump off fences onto bird feeders. It's ridiculous. It's like entertaining.
Yeah, it is. It's entertaining until it comes to your garden. Then they're like, could you guys chill just a little bit?
I have had a couple times where I'm like, I should be mad, but this is kind of funny. But yeah, I fully had them like, I had two bird feeders that were in my garden for the last couple of years, and I had to like retire them because the squirrels just eventually like brutalized them. Like, broke them.
Yeah. No, that's totally happened to us. We just gave up. We were like, okay, they can just eat out of our trash can or whatever. Yeah. It's fine.
Wait, can I, before just because you said the thing about eating out of the trash can, my dumb petty hill to die on is the mountain towns have wildlife resistant trash cans. I think we need them too. And I know we just all got new trash cans, but it's a buffet out here for them. Okay. That's not hard.
It truly, and especially with compost and stuff, like,
oh my God.
But like ours, they love, like I've talked about this before. They love yogurt containers. They will just chew out our trash can to get in, pull the yogurt containers out. It's nuts. But I think in a different era of Denver, when we had a bigger budget, maybe we could get those wildlife resistant trash cans.
I was gonna say, I was like, we all just got new ones. We're not getting new trash cans for a very long time.
We're not.
Just give me a little lock or something. I don't know. Anyways.
This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. At Denver Health, emergency surgical care is built for moments when every second counts. Denver Health is the first hospital in the Rocky Mountain region to earn the Emergency General Surgery verification from the American College of Surgeons, a distinction held by only a small number of hospitals nationwide. It reflects their ability to respond quickly, coordinate across teams, and deliver high-quality care in urgent, life-threatening situations. At Denver Health, expert teams are ready to act, delivering the right care at the right time when it matters most. Learn more at denverhealth.org/experts. That's denverhealth.org/experts. This episode is brought to you by the Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Hey Denver, did you know a banana peel in the landfill produces a greenhouse gas that is 80 times more potent than one being composted? This Earth Month, go green by signing up for compost service with Denver Solid Waste. If you already use the city's trash collection services, you can sign up for weekly compost collection at no extra cost. Composting yard waste, food scraps, and other organic material is great for the environment. It reduces greenhouse gas pollution and helps create healthier soils without any synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. Learn what goes into your green cart and sign up today by calling 311. Already composting? Learn where to take tricky materials like e-waste with their waste directory, or help your neighbors learn how to recycle and compost correctly with resources on their CartSmart page at denvergov.org/CartSmart. That's denvergov.org/CartSmart. Okay, Greta K has a few questions, drought questions related to a treeless yard and a veggie garden. Greta K says, I was planning on planting some new trees this summer along with other landscaping. Specifically, I want to add a peach tree and then some juniper or arborvitae. I just Googled this.
Arborvitae.
I thought that was what it was too, but according to, what was I watching? This Old House or something? I tried to find several pronunciations, but this kind of plant that she's talking about is like the tall bush sort of conifer tree, like that you would see as, because she's basically looking for something to increase privacy. She says, or a lilac bushes along my fence to increase privacy. Between watering restrictions and a likely hot, dry summer, should I skip these additions this year and wait for a, quote, wetter year? I'm worried about new planting being too stressed to really get healthy and be established.
This is an awesome question because I didn't know actually the answer to this. I just planted a brand new tree last year. So I went and contacted B. Stratton at Denver Water to ask. And so a couple different things. If you plant a brand new tree this year, you can actually get a permit for 3 months that allows you to water every day to encourage the new growth. And Denver Water wants you to plant trees because they help in the future in terms of cooling our streets and yards. And so you should continue to plant a new tree and look into that 3-month watering permit. And then you said she asked about a veggie garden too, right?
Yes. Okay. But really quick, I will say we'll put a link. I'll do a little digging. I'll put a link in the show notes for that permitting information because honestly, there's the awesome program, Denver Digs Trees from the park people. Also, full disclosure, they're sponsors of the show, but I've also just utilized them. They're amazing. So there are a lot of options to actually get lower cost trees directly from a program if you want to be like Greta and plant. But this is great to know that you can get a permit to help you establish that tree.
Yeah, you can also get, so Denver Digs Trees is like a low cost tree for some people. You can also just get a fully free tree from the city of Denver itself as part of their Don't Be an Ash program.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, or specifically to if your home is up against a sidewalk or right of way, this is to provide more shade for sidewalks. So they will come and put a free tree. Unfortunately, I just got rejected for a tree, but that's my fault.
Did you not have the right lot style or whatever? I
didn't have enough room.
Okay.
I didn't have enough room from the driveway.
Okay.
So my bad for not measuring, but they're very clear on the website about all the requirements and don't be like me, actually read them.
And I will just say too, we got a gift card, I think, to Anderson Tree Farm from my mom. So we were able to actually spend a little bit of money and we got a more mature tree which was kind of awesome because it's like cheating a little bit. It's already been growing a little bit, but there's a lot
that's
of,
what I did with mine too.
it's kind of like, it's a little satisfying. It's like, oh, actually it's already established, but those are really great things to know. Cause I know a lot of folks out there are probably thinking about this, shading their yards. So yeah, Greta also says, additionally, I have a biggish vegetable garden that usually needs daily watering early in the season. And then I can usually go every other day once the plants are established. It has a drip system, so the watering is pretty efficient. Do the same outdoor watering restrictions that apply to lawns also apply to garden, especially food producing gardens?
Yeah. So I think actually y'all got a few questions about this. I think what's important for people to understand is a lot of the guidelines you're seeing right now, like before the summer, pertain to lawns.
Okay.
It's for all you grass guzzlers. It's really just don't start your sprinklers and don't start your drip systems yet.
Okay.
Right now, it's fine to hand water if you're doing it so everybody should have received communication from the Denver Water by now about when you can water.
Okay.
So if you have an even address, I know this because it's me. If you have an even address, it's Thursdays and Sundays. And then I forget what it is if you're an odd address. If you're not sure, I think
I'll put a link in the show notes too, where you can put in your address and find out when your watering schedule is. So
yeah. And then you can still hand water. And I think a couple different things. So one, it is in your best interest to stay in those hours that they give you anyways. So don't water between 10 and 6. The reason being is that's just when it's hottest and more of your water.
The 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what you're saying, is don't water basically daylight hours.
Yeah. Because more of the water is going to get lost to evaporation. It's actually better if you water in the evening, and then because the temperature is cooler overnight, that'll stay in the ground longer. I would also really encourage, I got a big vegetable garden too, and I'm also really thinking about this. I would really encourage people to get into thinking about any type of water conservation they haven't done yet. So drip systems are really great because sprinklers tend to also lose more to evaporation. There are also Oyas that have become popular in recent years. So these are they're kind of shaped like a bottle. They're made out of terracotta. You could bury them in the soil and keep the spout above ground and fill it with water. And then over time, it will dissipate the water to your plants. So that is a way of conserving water. If you don't already have rain barrels or some sort of water catchment, I would do that. Despite the fact that we've had pretty sparse precipitation, like I have a decent amount of water in my rain barrels still that I can use. So those are things you could take advantage of. I think it's going to be a hard summer. I think we're probably going to have to ask ourselves some really tough questions about how much we're planting too. And I know that's a lot harder said than done, easier said than done with grocery prices.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think if the winter has been like this, I think it's reasonable to expect that the summer is going to be pretty dang hot. I would really think about your crop rotating and seasonal planting. Take advantage of the temperatures when they're at what they're at. So right now you could still grow peas, greens, leafy stuff. And then I think too, just shelter. I think that's going to be a big thing that I have to add a lot of in my garden. Is maybe propping up shade cloth over certain beds to help conserve water.
Just protecting the plants from the sun, since we can't necessarily maybe water them as much as we would like to. Okay.
Yeah. And we don't have big old trees. I don't really have a single mature tree on or around my properties. I don't have a lot of shade.
Yeah.
So shade cloth.
I would just say too, on the tree thing, is we're very lucky. Our tiny house has a giant shade tree in the front and a giant shade tree in the back, which is life-changing. And they're mature. But they are pretty old. And so a couple of years ago, my husband planted a new shade tree to hopefully be there if we ever lose any of these. So I think
really
it's something
smart
to also think about. Even if you do have mature trees, is there space for you to maybe plant another one for, the next 50 or 75 years or whatever?
That's very smart also, because I know in our side of town, a lot of people have invasive Siberian elms. And a lot of the really, really big ones are half dead.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of my neighbors have had to have theirs removed for obviously safety reasons, but
it's a good thing
a lot of people aren't replacing them with new trees.
Yeah.
So that's really important. Then the last thing I was going to say too is mulch. Now is the time to mulch. That's going to help you conserve water. Definitely, I would mulch more this year over the summer with thinner material like straw, or I got into cedar bedding mulching last year.
Ooh.
I think that's going to make a big difference in terms of just making sure your soil doesn't dry out. And this might seem counterintuitive, but planting more densely. The more the soil is covered up with plants, the longer it takes for it to dry out.
Okay. So like, don't spread it out. Try to
Yeah, big
concentrate
bare
it.
patches of dirt are your enemy in the garden, in a drought tolerant Colorado garden.
Well, let's talk about mulching because we actually have another question specifically to this. Allie C asks, we have a few mulched areas at our new home. How often should we remulch? And in mulched areas, do we have to remove it to grow flowers or veggies? Is there a special way to do it? Do we need to replace the soil? So there's a couple questions here about the mulching process, I guess.
Yeah, it matters a lot if we're talking about areas that have trees and shrubs.
Okay.
So it's not 100% clear to me from this question. So like I, for example, will have like roses and berries, and around them I grow other stuff. I go for a much like smaller size mulch for that. A lot of garden centers around here carry something called soil pep, which is like really, really fine mulch. That stuff is great. As far as whether to remove it, I think when you have the larger mulch, you might have to remove it and refresh it. The smaller stuff decomposes into the ground a lot faster. So I'm not really removing it from year to year. I'm just layering on top of it.
Okay.
And that's usually what's best for soil, is like you want to build layers like lasagna. And then, because it's finer, it's not blocking out smaller plants in between. So you want to mulch once in the spring, mulch again in the fall before it's winter. And just, because I just said it, for a lot of beds, you're going to want to consider mulching more often this year. Don't go crazy, because too much mulch means you're going to get more bugs. The bugs will love the mulch, and then they will move on to your plants. So it's usually about at least 2 inches of mulch. And you need different types of mulch for the different types of areas. Again, trees and shrubs will need bigger pieces of mulch. But if you want to interplant with other smaller things, you need to maybe go for a finer mulch.
Okay. And so this is the last part of the question is, do I need to replace the soil? Does mulch ruin the underlying soil? And it sounds like depending on the mulch, no, that's not actually.
No, an ideal situation is it breaks down. And a lot of times too, in the spring, you're also mulching with compost, because, all through the winter, it's sort of depleted whatever nutrients are there. So the biggest thing is you want to give it fresh food. And so no, ideally you have mulch that's breaking down every year and you don't need to remove it. Unless we're talking about like the ornamental mulch. If you're talking about wanting to mulch and have it be like a certain color, then you have to replace it. But I don't do that.
Now I'm going to be thinking all deeply when I see mulch. I'll be like, oh, someone's over here with their ornamental, just to be mulch to be looked at.
Ooh, that's some pretty mulch. One time I sat down and I did all this silly research about what do they use to color it, and apparently a bunch of it is actually eco-friendly these days. So if you want the colored mulch, I wouldn't lose sleep over it either. I just go for what's cheap and on sale.
Yeah, I know. I was I literally have never thought about it before this question, but that's so funny.
Too much free time on my hands.
I mean, when you love something, you pay attention to it a lot. Yours just happens to be probably ogling other people's gardens, which is, I'm sure, a hobby for many gardeners.
Judging. No, not really. Although I did get a flyer in my door the other day that was do you need help do you need gardening services? I was excuse me. Does it look
did you look it?
Probably. But I have a big zany vegetable garden in the front. And, to some people that looks very disorderly.
I mean, honestly, to be fair, in our neighborhood, there's a lot of things going on in front yards. So
I got a full underground auto shop happening next to me. So I like to think I'm adding some color.
I have a yard of dead toys and a beautiful garden my husband has planted, but also squirt guns everywhere, a slide that's sideways. I'm not. And of course, our neighbor Jose next door has a beautiful garden. And then our neighbor Alfredo across the street has this lawn that looks like a golf course. It's he goes out with scissors and trims it out.
Whoa.
It's incredible. Although I do want to be
dedication.
Alfredo, let's get you a tree. Bro, you need a tree over there.
Oh, I know.
It looks like it's a little dire. This episode is brought to you by the University of Denver. The University of Denver is Denver's home for college sports. It's a place where championships aren't just victories, they're a tradition. This season, DU men's hockey captured its 11th national championship, more than any other college hockey program in history. 11 titles, 11 moments that are a reminder of what greatness feels like. But what makes these Pioneers truly special doesn't stop at the final buzzer. DU student athletes are champions on and off the ice, balancing elite competition with academic excellence. In fact, the team posts an average GPA of 3.6, proving that discipline, teamwork, and drive translate everywhere they go. Because at the University of Denver, winning is about more than trophies. It's about standards. It's about values. From the classroom to the rink, DU sets the standard, and the nation is watching. So join us in celebrating the winningest college hockey program in history and a university where excellence is always the goal. That's the Denver difference. Learn more at denverpioneers.com. That's denverpioneers.com. Okay, we have another question. This is this is again another water use question. This is from Kathy L. She says, I'm a summer resident in Denver. I'm an organic gardener from Tucson, and I want to lower my water usage in my landscaping. I pulled out about half of my lawn, and I'm looking for suggestions of native shrubs and flowers to fill the open space.
Amazing.
Yes, I know. Also, thank you, Kathy, for doing that.
Yeah. So I think there are just like so many resources right now for you to go and get seeds, plant recommendations. All of the sales are coming up. And so if you are looking for those things, a couple things to pay attention to in the next month. Denver Botanic Gardens and about 15 other places will have their plant sales with expert people there who can answer your questions about what you're looking for. But right off the top of my head, the classics for a Colorado garden that is drought tolerant and easy on the water. Catmint is our big one. You will see it everywhere. It's also super pretty. It flowers purple. Lots of poppies do really well here. I had this problem the last time we did this interview. Yarrow.
That
one.
Yes. Okay.
Is a great one. And these are things that come back every year too. Agastache are also drought tolerant flowers that smell beautifully like licorice and stuff. So these are great ones to start with. Also, honestly, a couple of years ago, I just went and I got the Colorado Mixed Wildflower Seed Blend from Ector's, which comes from a local company that I'm blanking on the name of. And I just threw a bunch of it down in my front yard, and they come back all the time. Like different varieties pop up every year.
Cool.
And I don't know what half of them are, but it's a testament to the fact that they do so well without very much water at all, because the front garden I like to call it parking space garden. So it's like super shallow, not all of it's irrigated. And they just truck on their own, like without that much. The other thing that I've been doing, if you have space for this, or if this makes sense for where you're at, I've become really obsessed in the last couple of years with creeping thyme. So this is a drought tolerant ground cover. Yes, it is like culinary thyme.
Yes.
And
I feel like we talked about this last year, but okay. So, but it'll just go.
I love it. It'll go. So I have a big patch of it in front of my front door, and now I'm trying to extend it all the way down my driveway. And it will also just spread on its own. Like I walk around and I think I'm tracking the seeds everywhere, and it kind of pops up all over the place. But it's beautiful. It is greenery that does not require that much water at all. It comes back on its own every year. It flowers in the spring and attracts pollinators. Beautiful. And you step through it and it smells amazing.
This sounds like a good alternative to if you're really like a traditional grass guy. Like this is just a different version of that that's much better for the environment. It's like, if you like the green and you like a cover and it smells good.
Oh my God, it smells amazing. I was like going through and watering my plants last weekend and like running the hose through that area. And I was like, it's back.
I love it. Okay, let's see. Actually, I want to ask you one more question that was from Greta, sort of related to this, but we've been talking about it throughout the drought. Her just as a general question with the water ban this year, is there any tips to just the best way to water a garden? I know we talked about the timing is right, like following the schedule. But like maybe if someone has never done a rain barrel before, I don't know, are there other ways that you would recommend for folks to approach the watering conundrum?
Something that I have been thinking about a lot is making more use of gray water. So gray water is all of the water that you are kind of letting go down the drain whenever you are warming up the faucet to take a shower or doing dishes. And there are one of my gardening shows, the host was talking about how he's starting to do his dishes in a plastic bin so he could capture the water and then use it for gardening. I've been thinking about doing that. I got an ad for some kind of device that's similar for the shower, where it's like basically this flat thing that you could put in the shower, like under the water while it's warming up. And then it'll capture the water, close the drain when you're ready to take a shower. And then you just have like a jug of water you can use. And I think they sell a watering can attachment to it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I think to the extent that you're able to capture the water you're using in the house, I think also a tiny little thing I do is whenever I boil water for coffee or tea, whatever's left over later on, instead of pouring it down the sink, I like put it in my watering can. So little things like that. I would really recommend the Oyas.
Okay.
They also go on sale a ton, but the one company that specializes them is Grow Oya, I believe. And then I think there's a lot of other ones that are popping up. But this is, I'm going to get real nerdy for a second. Primitive technology, y'all. Like it works. And that's why we still do it.
It works for a reason. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I bought 3 a couple of years ago to start experimenting with them. I really liked how they worked last year. So I plan on getting a lot more of them. And starting to fit them into container plants because they got small ones that will go into container plants. You can also get watering spikes, which are a pretty similar thing. I think if you have really tried to hold out on drip irrigation, like maybe you feel like you got too small of a space or something, you don't. I have a really annoying DIY drip system that I got to set up and take down every year. But I ultimately started doing it because it's easier on your hands. And, I started doing sprinklers and I would see how much water it wasted. So the drip is really the most economical. I would get a fabric drip hose because if you put them away in the winter, they're less likely to crack or break. What else? I mean, shade.
Okay.
Shade really helps.
Shade is huge. Yeah. If we haven't pushed it enough, please plant a tree.
That's just the big thing here.
Please
plant a tree, get shade cloth, or get a what do they call them? The sun sails or something like that. If you have outdoor space and you typically don't have a lot of shade, I think this is really the year to consider adding somehow, some way.
Yeah. Well, and I will say too, like Denver Digs Trees, and the park people, they have so many resources. Also the CSU extension, like if you're like, I want to plant a tree, but I'm terrified I'm not going to give it what it needs to live. There's so many places that will help you figure out like what is the best tree, where you should put it in your yard. Like there's a lot of free resources. So don't feel overwhelmed if you're like, I've never planted a tree before, because I think there's a lot of guidance out there that's accessible.
Yeah, no, there totally is. And the other place I would recommend Denver Water too. I don't know if they still do, but they used to have. Yeah. They had
a garden in a box is amazing too. Just
garden in a box, and then they also have the model xeriscaping garden, which I have to remember where exactly that is. But if you are thinking about getting rid of your grass, if you are looking for a more drought tolerant garden, they are really pushing that so hard. And the Denver Botanic Gardens also has a ton of really great resources for how to get started in that area. Do not sleep on their Master Gardener program. It's just like you literally could call a number of somebody who knows a lot more than I do.
No, we'll put a link in the show notes to that too. I really want to give folks as many resources as possible because this is so important for so many reasons. But we need to save water, but we also need to figure out ways to create more shade and things like that for our future selves.
And also growing the vegetables is good. People shouldn't stop growing vegetables. But we definitely have to, I'm really encouraged to hear how many of these questions are about water conservation. I think everybody's got the right thing on their mind. It should not mean don't garden. We just got to be a lot more thoughtful about it.
Absolutely. I have a question related. You brought up the Denver Botanic Gardens, so let's talk really quick. Laura Z says, we live across the park from the Denver Botanic Gardens. Will their tulip fungus affect my bulbs? So for context, Laura's referencing the tulip blight that happened at the gardens this year. Basically, a horticulturist at the gardens noticed this common fungal disease appearing in 2016 on some of the garden's 16,000 bulbs. Or I'm sorry, back in 2024, there were 16,000 bulbs that they were, because they do this every year and they noticed something. Last year, it became very clear. So the bulbs have been removed and the soil has to be treated and sit for 3 years to make sure the fungus is gone. Laura's concerned because she lives near the gardens. Could that affect her tulips too?
This is a fantastic question. And I didn't know the answer to this. So I reached out to Aaron Bird at the Botanic Gardens. And the answer is you can rest easy. The fungus that is affecting those tulips is not airborne. So
Okay.
Aaron let me know that what they believe happened, they're not 100% sure, but what they believe happened is that a bulb vendor had sold them infected bulbs, not realizing it. And that probably happened a number of years ago. And then because they didn't rotate the crops, it just sort of stayed in the soil. So that's why you hear them talking about having to treat the soil and there can't be anything in that bed right now. But it's not an airborne
So it cannot
fungus.
like it's not a pollen or something that could travel through the air and affect Laura's garden.
No.
Oh, see,
You will be
rest
okay.
easy. That's good. That's a good thing to think about. Okay, Dan K says, are dandelions actually an ecological nuisance? Example, crowding out grasses and other plants, or are they unfairly stigmatized simply because people consider them an eyesore? That's a great question.
That's such a philosophical question. I mean, it really is. It's just like this gets at the. I'm going to be so nerdy here for a second. This gets at the heart of like, people have like really different points of view on gardening. Like there is a saying that, it's a weed only based on your perspective. And so it really just depends. It like depends on, they spread quite a bit. That's the biggest reason they're considered to be a nuisance. And so if you like them, but maybe you don't want them to spread, you can always pull them up before they go to seed. You'll still get them though, because they're going
everywhere.
to seed all over the city because they're everywhere. I mean, dandelions have plant benefits. I'm a Mediterranean person, and the Greeks, my neighbors across the Mediterranean, have been eating dandelion greens for ages. And the other thing to note is that they do have some benefits for our tough clay compacted soil in Colorado, in the sense that you see them everywhere because they can survive that, because they have these like really thick tap roots that can break through that soil. And so sometimes they're doing you a favor. If you move onto a new property, for example, and you have really tough compacted soil, the dandelions are kind of helping you break up at least the first couple of layers of it. And so when you dig them out, all of that soil is looser and easier to handle. So that's one way of looking at it. I would say if you like them, there's no one saying you gotta kill them, pull them.
I mean, I love the thought of dandelion greens, also an option to use them as plants. Also, I think they're pollinators, so they're not bad to have around,
No, they're definitely bug and butterfly food. That's why, again, I think it's good to keep them around up until maybe they go to seed and then pull them up.
Okay. Last question was a text or a voicemail we got. Sorry, this is from an unknown sender, but they said, what's the best way to deal with grasshoppers without using pesticides? And you were just saying the grasshoppers, they're already back. This is a problem for our yard. We love them, but there's too many. Is there a way to deal with them that doesn't involve pesticides?
I got this book from the Botanic Gardens Library a couple of years ago called Getting the Bugs Out of Organic Gardening. It's like from the 70s. Getting the Bugs Out. And I was been going down through the advice. So the first advice that they had was like, put on gloves and just go catch them. Don't do that. It's like, so it's going to take the rest of your life.
That seems so tedious.
And it's also, nothing's going to make you feel stupider. I'm sorry. Do you know how many of them I would like catch? And then they would wiggle out of my hands and jump on my face. And I just felt like a stupid cartoon character. Don't do that. I wouldn't recommend that. I will say I went down the list last year and I started doing the second piece of advice in that book, which was molasses traps. And that did actually start working.
Okay.
And so just taking, like 1 part molasses and like 9 parts water, and putting this mixture in jars around your yard, and they will go straight for it and just drown themselves.
Okay.
And they just need to be replenished. This was the part that I kind of fell behind on last year, but I was surprised by how effective it was. I think another thing you could try, this is also really tedious and annoying, but it does kind of work, is you can coat your plants with flour, because the flour will gum up their mouths and they'll suffocate.
Oh,
I know, brutal.
I mean, it's like that or pesticides. I mean,
I know.
This is like at least in a sort of organic way to do it.
And then they return to the earth. Basically. And then the other thing is attracting birds. So a big reason I got into bird feeders a few years back was, please help, please come and eat all these grasshoppers. And it had, I don't know, it's helped a little bit, but I think when you also don't have a tree in your yard, it's very hard to get birds to like stay a while.
Another reason to get a tree. All the more reason to get a tree.
It's like a drive-through for them more than a dining room. But we're working on it. I don't know why that just reminds me of the subway on Alameda for like a year that had the sign that was like dining room under new management.
And then it was like seized.
Yeah. Now it wasn't doing great.
Nope. Now it's an empty subway. I know this one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, that's all helpful. This has been so great. I'm jazzed for my husband to start trying these things in our garden.
That's so funny.
So good luck.
I'm jazzed for this other guy to garden.
I am. I'm jazzed to watch him implement all of your recommendations.
Me too.
But this was great. This was so great. Ann Marie Awad, thank you so much for joining me.
Always. Thank you for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell the amateur gardener in your life about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to our morning newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. And hey, thanks to our new neighbors, Ann C. and Chris N., who just joined our membership program. You can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Denver neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye-bye.